In November 1943, an official letter arrived in every home in an English village called Imber. It was from the War Office. It said the village was needed for the war effort. Residents had 47 days to leave everything they had built, everything they had inherited, everything they had ever known. They were told one more thing. You'll come back when the war ends. The war ended. Nobody came back. 80 years later, they are still waiting. Imber had existed for over 1,000 years. A small farming community on the open grassland of Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, one of the most ancient landscapes in England. Stonehenge stands just 13 miles away. The village church, St. Giles, had been there since 1320. The same families had farmed the same fields for generations. In the 1940s, around 150 people called Imber home. It was not wealthy. It was not famous. It was simply a place where people lived, where children were born and buried, where marriages happened and seasons turned, where the same stone walls had stood through every war in English history. Until this one. In 1943, the Allied forces were preparing for the invasion of Europe. American troops needed realistic European village terrain to train in. Imber, with its stone houses and narrow streets, was exactly what they needed. The War Office sent the letters. 47 days. Residents packed what they could carry. Furniture too heavy to move was left in place. Photographs stayed on walls. Crockery stayed in cupboards. Gardens were abandoned mid-season. On the final day, residents locked their front doors and handed the keys to army officials. Most believed they would be back within a year. Some never left the county they watched from nearby towns, waiting for the call home that never came. The war ended in May 1945. The army looked at Imber, at the infrastructure they had built around it, at the value of uninterrupted training land on Salisbury Plain, and decided they were not leaving. In 1948, the Ministry of Defence announced that Imber would not be returned. The promise was broken, quietly, officially, permanently. Today, Imber remains inside a military training area. The British Army still controls every building, every road, every inch of the village. It opens to visitors on a small number of days per year, primarily around Remembrance Sunday in autumn. On those days, descendants of the original families return. They walk streets their grandparents walked. They sit in the pews of St. Giles Church, where their family names are recorded in the registers going back centuries. They tend the graves of ancestors who never imagined the village would outlast its people. And then, when the permitted hours end, they leave again. Because the army says so. The village is still there. The houses still stand. The church still holds services. And the people it was built for still cannot go home. A promise made in wartime. A village still standing. A community still waiting 80 years later for a door they were told they could walk back through. The world hides places like this everywhere. Subscribe because next week we find another one. And share this with someone who has never heard of Imber. They should know this story exists.